Hello, everybody. As the situation in Ukraine becomes more absurd, it seems as if the lies of Donald Trump and the lies of Vladimir Putin are becoming increasingly similar. Of course, Trump has been talking about Zelensky and the Ukraine, what is described as a barrage of lies. As CNN reports, Trump falsely called Zelensky a dictator. It's becoming more and more absurd. It's almost as if the whole script was written by some Central European or East Central European absurdist. Meanwhile, the Russians continue to lie as well. There was an interesting piece recently in the Wall Street Journal about Russia wanting to erase Ukraine's future and its past. Very, very interesting piece by Yaroslav Tromivov. Meanwhile, filmmakers are getting into the business of exposing the lies. My guest today, Anna Krivenko, is a filmmaker. She's the director of an important new movie. It's in the process of being made, called This House is Undamaged. She's a visual fellow at the Central European University, and she's joining us from Budapest today. Anna, congratulations on This House is Undamaged. Before we talk specifically about the film, do you agree with my observations that there seems to be an increasingly eerie synergy between the lies coming out of Washington, D.C. and Moscow, between Trump and Putin?
Yeah, I think it's now situation even more and more crazy and absurd. I think it's a better word, that you can use in this situation, because for me, all of this looks like some carnival of hypocrisy, that I have no idea. Like, I have some thoughts, of course, why it's like this, but for me, it looks like unbelievable that someone actually can use the word like dictator, in comparison with Vladimir Putin, or speaking about this, 4% of the people who like actually Zelensky, that it's only 4%. This is also, for me, it looks completely absurd, and some information like from Moscow and not from actually some Ukrainian statistics. So
Yeah, I mean, the phrase you use, carnival of hypocrisy, I think is a good description. I might even use that in the title of this conversation. It's almost as if Trump in particular is parodying himself, but he seems so separated from reality that it seems as if he's actually being serious, or at least from my position in California. How does it look from your perspective in Budapest? You're originally from Ukraine, and so obviously you have a particular interest in this situation.
Oh, like I don't even know what to think, because it's so fast. It's changing into actually some kind of absurd situations that every day that I open the news, I'm saying to myself, or like speaking with people, and it looks like this is some kind of a farce, that you're expecting that next day someone will tell that this is a joke or something, but it's not, So I think in this case, it's really hard to believe that this is a reality for now, but unfortunately it is.
Kunda, of course, wrote his famous novel, The Joke, as a parody of the previous authoritarian regime in East Central Europe. Your new movie, This House is Undamaged. I know you were an artist in residence at the Institute for Advanced Study at Central European University, is very much in that vein. Tell us about the project, This House is Undamaged.
Oh, it will be. It's as you said, it's work in progress. I was here actually I was doing a research in archives, official and like internet archives. And this new film, this documentary film, will explore this transformation of Mariupol, as I think all of you know, a Ukrainian city that was destroyed by the Russian invasion in 2022. And I will use actually only archives and found footage materials from the real people who are in Mariupol now, or who were in Mariupol in time of invasion, and who are actually trying to film what's going on. And sometimes also you'll use a propaganda images from even from Russia, from Russian authorities or from Russian firms, because I don't know if you, I think all of you know this, that in May 2022, Mariupol, after intense like fighting, it was almost completely destroyed.
Yeah, Anna, you say all of us know. Unfortunately, I'm not as much of an expert as I should be, and I'm not sure all our audience does.
Okay.
So tell us the story of Mariupol, this town on the old border, at least, of Russia and Ukraine. It's in the south east of the country of Ukraine.
Yeah. It's on a shore of this Azov Sea. It's actually part of Donetsk region. And it was always this industrial city that I think the most known, it's like Azovstal factory. It's the most known industrial part of a city. And in 2022, after this incredible brutality of Russian war against Ukraine, this city, strategically important because of this location at the Azov Sea, was almost completely destroyed in May 2022 and was occupied by Russian government. But I think, okay, this is some information at least that maybe someone knows from 20 days in Mariupol or from news, but the most absurd, like 19% of buildings were destroyed, were demolished in some, like, or were destroyed on some way.
Yeah, and I was looking through some of the early clips of your movie in progress, and the whole town was essentially leveled by the Russians, perhaps in the same way as the Israelis have essentially destroyed Gaza.
Exactly, yeah. But I think for a lot of people, we have this like image of destroyed Mariupol till today. You know, it was destroyed, like all of this big news, big information from news. You have this like images of destroyed cities, and after like we are, you know, switching the topic and going somewhere else. But actually, Russia completely, you know, like in a few months after this terrible events, they start like this big campaign to rebuild the city. And of course, all of we know that it was made just to trace all of this scars of war, you know, like, so it can be completely erased from a city history. And they start this like big reconstruction. Also, from the start, these people who stay in Mariupol, they thought that it will be, you know, like, and they have no place to live, that it will be some new, you know, like house for them. But of course, business is business. So Russian authorities start to sell these apartments to Russian citizens.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Trump hasn't got involved, Anna, probably given his real estate background, given his cozy relationship with Donald Trump. Maybe Trump Real Estate will start selling real estate in Mariupol.
Yeah, exactly. I must say that I was thinking about the same thing, you know, like the same thing all this last week. That for me it was looking such kind of like absurd, this situation with Mariupol. But now again we are in this business mode, and again the situation, you know, like with Ukraine and all of these minerals. So again it's only like economical part of war and not all of this.
Right, exactly. He probably Trump would come up with some argument why he really owns Mariupol.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so, as you say, we couldn't make it. I mean, you and I couldn't make this stuff up, but it's actually, and again, this word has a lot of connotations. It's actually true. So coming back to I'm not sure if you saw this Wall Street Journal piece about Russia wanting to erase Ukraine, not just Ukrainians' future, but its past. In your reading, in your observations, you're originally from Kiev. Is it the old East Central European business of destroying history and creating a new narrative that somehow conforms to your to how you want history to actually have been made?
Oh, maybe can you specify a little bit so I can think?
Well, coming back to Mariupol, so the Russians, we know, they flattened the city, they destroyed it. And as you note in this new movie, they've rebuilt it according to their own rather cheesy aesthetic, sort of, I don't know what you would call it, a kind of capitalist Stalinism, it seems, the architecture.
Exactly.
So they're trying to make money. They're selling these new buildings. It's all built on the lie that Mariupol is somehow Russian. But is there a broader intellectual endeavor to destroy history, to deny that there ever was a Ukrainian Mariupol?
I must say that I was like really shocked that this is so fast. This idea of Russian Mariupol, it's so fast, it's repeating like after these 2 years in Russian media and like Russian like official and semi-professional, in this like blog YouTube sphere. It's repeating so much that actually me as a person who is working, like with this type of material, I'm watching a lot of videos every day, like to find the things that I need, and I'm actually listening to these people who are doing this propaganda like from Mariupol, like that we are citizens of this city and it's actually always been Russian, and they're repeating this all the time. So even me, like when I'm hearing this, like of course it was always Ukrainian city, it's completely absurd, like it's a lie, like for 100% this information. But when you're repeating this all the time in a different context, you want you or you don't want, you start to think like this. But
yeah, I mean, it's the same tactics as Trump, I think. If you keep on saying something, however absurd it sounds or is, you keep on saying it enough times, some people at least start believing it. Anna, you're not a historian or a political scientist, but Mariupol, as you noted, is in the Donetsk part of Ukraine, which had a significant population of Russian-speaking people. Are some of the people that you're filming and feature in your movie, are they Russians who have moved into Mariupol from some other part of Russia, or are they people originally from Mariupol who are somehow embracing their new Russian overlord?
The people that I have now, like that I'm watching on social media, most of them, they're like, I think not most of them, like the people that I know, not personally, but that they're saying something about themselves, that all of them, they're from Mariupol. But you can find it was some kind of a journalistic article that all of them, you can find this information that they are paid actually from Russian government. So it's like actually paid propaganda. And they're repeating, and it's actually also, it's really important that they're all the time repeating that we are like, we were born in Mariupol, and we are saying we are like truly, like people from Mariupol, we want this city to be Russian. So this is like, some kind of they're trying to sell this, that this is justice, that this is a right position. But of course, if you know that, you can hear it. It's actually like this, the same, like from the same propaganda book, like from 2014 with Crimea, they're repeating the same narrative that actually is the same, like from Soviet Union. They just changed like Soviet Union to Russia, and like NATO is the same, plus like European Union or something like bad West.
Anna, you grew up in Kiev, so you're all too familiar with all these current and historical controversies. What's your take on Mariupol before 2020, before it was flattened by the Russians? Was it a town where Russian-speaking and Ukrainian people were neighbors and friends? Was there always deep divisions between the Russian and Ukrainian-speaking populations there?
Oh, must say that it's like hard to explain, because you need to dig deeper and deeper to explain this like Russian speaking and Ukrainian speaking part of Ukraine. But I think actually it was never a problem before Yanukovych as a premier minister and after as a president, because it was his strategy how to make this two-part, like this polarization of Ukraine, that you have this like western part and eastern part, and because of the language, the western part want to be a part of this like European Union, and the eastern part, because of the language, it want to be like part of a Russia, and they cannot live together. But it's not true. Actually, me as a person from Kiev, from the center of country, and who have friends from different part of Ukraine, it was never a problem. Actually, I'm from like a Russian speaking family, and I have a lot of friends like of course like from Ukrainian speaking families, and it was never a question. Actually, it was like some kind of a like we were like in some kind of a symbiotic connection. Also, all of the schools were in Ukrainian, university in Ukrainian, so we were like kind of bilingual, so it was not a problem to communicate. And yes, I need to say that it's true. Some part of this, because of again like Yanukovych connections to Putin and his like propaganda. It was really important to say that, okay, we are Russian speaking people, and because we are Russian speaking, we want to be a part of Russia. It was a kind of propaganda material for them. But I remember I have a lot of friends, not a lot, but some friends from Mariupol. And actually after 2014, because in 2014, when war in eastern Ukraine starts, Mariupol were also like bombed few times. It was like really hard situation there. But after, it was a really good city to live. It was a lot of different cultural activities. I know even some friends who were originally from Mariupol. They were studying in Kiev, doing some I don't know, theater or visual art, and they came back to Mariupol because it was good place to to do their art practice. So it was not the best. Like Ukraine is still a bit centric country, so everything what is going on is mostly in Kiev, Kharkiv, or Lviv, and like in the big cities, or maybe Odessa. But it was not like that. Was a city with some kind of a conflict, big conflict inside. So this is, for me, this is so weird that so fast people are starting to say, like after 2022, that it was always Russian. I don't know, that they, like that it was some kind of problematic in this way, in this connection, that we want to be a part of Russia or something. It was not a deal, for my.
It seems as if I lived for a year in Bosnia before the civil war, and it was almost as if ethnicity was invented by the Serbian, the nationalist Serbian regime. It seems as if the Putin regime is doing or has done the same thing in the eastern part of Ukraine.
Yeah.
You mentioned you talk to lots of friends still. Anna, you from Kiev originally, and obviously your professional life remains focused on the situation. In late February 2025, what's your sense of how I mean, it's hard to, of course, generalize, and I don't want to put you in that position, but what's your take on the feeling of what's happening, given what Trump, all the lies that Trump now is telling?
I think a lot of people now, like in Ukraine or Ukrainians abroad, they're feeling like some kind of lonely, that you don't have this someone who are helping to you. And again, we are in a situation, but also I cannot again generalize. Like it's my feeling, and like some people that I communicate with, that again you have some big deals, like about Ukraine, without Ukraine, and you have this feeling that you're like nothing. You're just an empty space on a map with a lot of minerals, or with a sea, or with something else, with a good. I don't know what, and big now it's even again we are like speaking about business, like they're agreeing on some deals, and you're just sitting there and waiting, like. So this is like the negative, layer. But also I think it's important for all of Ukrainians, some kind of be together and again speak about the situation and speak. I don't know, I don't want to use this like big words like truth and like everything, but again it's funny because it was some kind of, it was this after Trump's words about 4%, like who are for Zelensky. There was some statistic from last year that it was 57 or 55%, like who are pro Zelensky. But today were new statistics, after these few days, and it was already 65%. So it's like people are trying.
And it's as if, I mean, Zelensky, of course, his pre-political career was as a satirical comedian, as if he's participating in his own comedy, and as if he's almost in an odd way paid Trump to promote him. What about the broader take on the US, Anna? I mean, obviously Trump isn't all America, but he was just elected a couple of months ago. A majority of Americans want him to be president. Are some of your Ukrainian friends and associates, as well as many of the people at the Central European University in Budapest, are they taking this as a message from America itself? Are people able to separate Trump and America?
Oof, this is a hard question because I think all of us, we always knew that you have like some kind of like president or representative figure, and it's not the whole state. But I speak with one person from our university who were Central European University, who were in Pennsylvania before election, and he said that all the people were like pro Trump, and the logic were really, really simply, like he's good in this and this, and he will stop this war. People sometimes don't even know which war, like in which country, but they're like repeating the same stuff.
Exactly. So it's sort of Orwellian in the sense that it's just war, and it doesn't really matter who's involved. He's just going to stop it.
It's like, it was funny for me because I immediately remember that like at some moment everyone was repeating about Lukashenko, from Belarus. They were repeating that he's a good manager, he can manage it, somehow. This is the reason why he's still president, not that he's like dictator and he's killing all of his opponent. But also you can use this like to explain why sexually he's good and people are like choosing him, and you don't even think like about situation. So for me this is like Trump is a good businessman, but now we can see all of this business, like how it works. And for me it was really funny when I think it was today that someone from I unfortunately I don't know who it was. I have a really bad memory, but someone from Trump administration said that for Zelensky to stop to be this arrogant, because Trump now is in a bad mood or something because of this, and we're like, which world we are living if we are using this as an argument, like.
Yeah, and coming back to the real estate, I mean, Mariupol, he probably sees it as a nice strip on the Black Sea, like Gaza, which he sees as a valuable strip on the Mediterranean for real estate development. I found an interesting piece, Anna, online in terms of the Russian invasion. When buildings can talk, the real face of civilian infrastructure ruined by Russian invaders. In a way, your project, This House is Undamaged, it is your way of making buildings talk. Is that fair?
I think it's the best description that you can use, yes.
Perhaps you might explain how and why.
Actually, this name, This House is Undamaged, I don't know, it will be a final name or maybe we'll change it. But for me, it's really important because after first months, when it started to be like a Russian city, and the people were trying to sell, apartment. just to have at least some money, because this reconstruction starts a little bit later. So they were using this like Avito website. It's like oh my god, it's like something like Craigslist, like you can
Yeah.
sell and buy everything. So immediately it started to be also Russian, like part of Mariupol, part as a part of Russian territory. And all of the people, who are trying, it was a lot of people who are trying to buy something, from different Russian region who can see this opportunity, in this, because it was such a cheap prices, because people needed something, at least some money, I don't know, to buy a ticket and go to some other city to relatives or something. So they were trying to find apartments or like build, or at least something. But I think in every advertisement, it was this like, these words that house has no damages, or this house is undamaged. And you
Yeah.
can see, like, because it was like that something that you need to put there, even if it's not true, like, because you can see pictures. And like in one home, like in one building, it was actually a hole, like you can see it, but they were saying this house is undamaged. So for me, it's like really
Yeah,
important.
it's just again, and coming back to the carnival of hypocrisy, or the carnival of absurd hypocrisy. You see these completely destroyed homes, and then you have the signs from the Russians saying this house is undamaged.
Yeah, and it was also interesting that reason, like why some people from Russia want to buy apartment in Mariupol, like, or in this like reconstructed buildings, or in these new buildings with this really weird pro-Russian murals, like really
Yeah.
capitalistic Stalinism. It's like I will use this description, I think. That they're, like they don't even know, I think, where Mariupol is, and they think that it's somewhere, it is some kind of like near Crimea, but it's not Black Sea, it's Azov Sea, like it's industrial region, so it's not the best, like place to live, but they think that okay, it will be some kind of resort, like, and we are living somewhere, I don't know, in Krasnoyarsk, like, and we can buy now cheap good apartment, like war, I don't know, but like war can happen, like every day, every time. But now, like with my family, I can, like go to this city and just live there, like for like, I don't know, months or two, like as a resort. And for me, this is absurd, because the city were destroyed, like you still have this like mass graves, like sometimes they're buying or like selling apartments that they cannot find even an owner, because all the family are dead, like in Google Maps. It's really interesting and like really sad. You can find this one of a version, like of Google Maps that someone did, and you can see all of the buildings that were destroyed, because officially you cannot find it, like anywhere. And people were putting, like crosses when you know that in this building someone died, so, and you have like families, like with all of the information, like father and like 4 kids, and you're going through this map and like and after you're buying, like their apartment. I think this is like, for me, maybe I'm always saying that in some way I'm really naive person, but for me this is like unbearable. I don't understand it, that you can do at least, like short research about like Mariupol, where it is, what are you doing. But people are like, also people are lazy, like, and they don't want to do this work.
Yeah, and of course it comes back to the journal piece about Russia literally erasing not just Ukraine's past, but also its future, creating a culture of amnesia. It's chilling on so many levels, but it's the old game, Anna. It's happened before in that part of the world, and no doubt it will happen again. As a filmmaker, what particular kind of, shall we say, political or aesthetic responsibility do you have? I mean, people have been writing, I mentioned Kundera, Russian writers, Gogol have been writing satires of this kind of absurd political power for centuries. But as a filmmaker, what kind of responsibility do you have? How does your form, do you think, help you make this argument of essentially restoring the past, of telling the truth?
I know a lot of filmmakers who are in Ukraine, and with the start of invasion, they just like, bring their cameras and start to make films. And it was not a first goal to make a film after, but just to document, like have documentation of all of these crimes. So this was important, like for
Mm.
documentaries. I think my case, it's a little bit different, not only because I'm living, I have my family is in Ukraine, but I have a lot of friends in Ukraine, and I was living there till like 20 something. Um, but my case is a little bit different because for the last 10 years, actually, when with Maidan events in 2013, 2014, I started to work with archive and found footage material, and this is kind of my methodology. That
Mm.
I'm not, for me, it's not important to go somewhere and like to document, you have this documentation of events, but for me, it's more like interesting to use this media deconstruction from propaganda sources, maybe from Ukrainian sources also, because it's some kind of question of ideology, from people from Mariupol or people who were like people from Russia. It's also it's now one of my favorite kind of material. It's people who are doing like vlogs, like they're just with their camera or like mobile phone, who are going from Russia to Crimea, or from Crimea again back to Russia, and you have only like two ways how to go there because airports are not working. So you're going through this like bridge, Kerch Crimean bridge, like. But
Mm.
because now you have, because of Mariupol, because it's strategical place, you can go through Mariupol, so you have like two different roads. And people from, I don't know, different Russian cities, they're like sometimes filming their, like their road, and they're like, oh, what is this, is it destroyed, like, and they're shocked. But this is like average Russian person, and you can hear this, like all of this propaganda, what they're repeating or what they're really thinking. I don't know, sometimes it's again like absurd, but for me it's also this, it's important, to show this different point of view, and from people who are actually was there or who are there now, like I don't have, because I don't have opportunity even as a Ukrainian citizen, like to go there. So this is kind of my method, and I think it's through this now we can, I don't know, in some near future, like if I finish this film and everything will be okay, we can have some kind of a testimonies from the inside, and we'll not don't need to wait when the war ends in some, like, because we don't know how it ends and when it ends. So for me it's important, to show it to people who maybe don't know anything about it, what's going on in Mariupol.
Anna, given the abundance, the the uh, the the complete, sort of overabundance, perhaps, of video on the internet on platforms like YouTube, how do you distinguish between propaganda and truth yourself in terms of taking some of these segments to make your film? I mean, it could be conceivable that some of the more absurd videos are put out by Ukrainians to promote their own positions and undermine the Russians. Have you found that? Is there a kind of propaganda war on YouTube and other platforms between Ukrainian and Russian nationalists? And as a filmmaker who's trying to sort of archive the struggle in an honest way, how do you deal with it?
Of course, there are a lot of people, and actually Mariupol is the best example because Russian government, as I said, paying, for this, to do this job, like someone to repeat all of this ideology, like pro-Russian ideology. Sometimes you can see that it's like just the average person from Mariupol going with a camera and like shooting something. They are not even speaking. So this is for me only documentation, like. And sometimes you have this like Russian people who are there for some days and they're like just saying something. And of course you have like this different segment with really propaganda, like from some ministry of something in Russia that they went to Mariupol with some drone material, like, and using like big music and everything. I don't know. I'm always trying to question myself. what am I looking, like what is this, who are now speaking, like I don't know, in some technical aspects, why is this like this, and it's helping me to be like some kind of a realistic. But of course I'm from Ukraine, and maybe sometimes this is the most uncomfortable, that you can hear that this is actually people from Mariupol, but they're saying something that you don't want to hear, like because it's not your point of view on a war or something. But this is the people who are really from the city, and who are really, like in it, it's not about pro-Russian or not pro-Ukrainian, but like some kind of a realistic point of view on a situation. Because now it's really sad, but this is true. There were some statistics that at the end of statistics for the end of the year 2024, that I think 150,000 people were coming back, not only to Mariupol, but all of these occupying territories, or the front line from territory of Ukraine. Because maybe one of them, they're saying that maybe half of them, or like some 40% of them, were coming back to re-registrate their property, and after they were coming back to Ukraine territories. But actually a lot of people are coming back to Mariupol because they don't have where to live in Ukraine. And it's not like hundreds of people, it's like thousands of people. So it's also a question, like, and it's not something that it's like we are really, as a Ukrainians, we are comfortable with, because all of us, we are in a different situation. But I think it's also important to think about, like, if it's not comfortable for me, something with my point of view on war, it doesn't mean that it's not, like this is bad or good.
Well, it's an important project. I'm thrilled, Anna, that you came on the show. I know your artist in residency at the Central European University is finishing at the end of February. You're going to focus on finishing the movie. When do you think it'll be ready, and what are your ambitions in terms of the finished movie? Do you want it? Are you going to put it online? Are you going to put it in theaters? What's your ideal?
I think if everything will be okay, we can finish it in a year and a half, because it will be a long process of editing and working with the rights and everything. We actually start to work on it only 6 months ago, so it's like starting to go faster and faster. And as you know, like this documentary making, it's a long process because of fundings and everything. Even when I don't need to go somewhere like physically and shoot it, it's still a long process, because it's also a lot of, not only a lot of work, but a lot of waiting in the process. But I don't know, first of all, I think we are thinking about festivals, maybe a theater release, maybe we will have some broadcasters also with us, because I think it's important topic, and important to show it to wider audience. And after we will see.
Well, if when buildings can talk is the subtitle, in a sense, of this upcoming movie. This House is Undamaged, a really important project about Mariupol by Anna Gravenko. Real honor, Anna, to have you on the show. I'm gonna have to get you back when the movie's done, because I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.